Hello everyone, Silverraptor here. Welcome back to another Wargame Red Dragon video. First thing I want to do before I start off onto this game is deck suggestions. I would like to build more decks, and if you guys have other deck ideas that you want me to go, please put down in the comments down below, and I'll get around to making videos of making those decks and trying them out. But without further ado, let's get into this game. It's just a random game I joined with a few people. I'm joined with 100%, Bob is God, and Game Changer. We're up against Mike, Nick, Dr. Lim, and Nicola81. So I am playing my US Armor deck, and as such, I am going to be going into the center here. Game Changer is going to be on the right. Looks like he's going to try to push into Charlie. And that just leaves the other two, Bob and 100%. They are going to be going over here and try to take the town, which I actually think is the perfect place for two players to go, because this town can be quite difficult to take. As you guys know, I do have a curse where we don't take care of this town anytime I'm playing a game. But anyways, hopefully, since I'm not going to be involved in this village, the curse won't apply to them, and they'll break on through. But without further ado, let's go and start this game and get underway. There we go. So how we're going to be starting off with this is that as we get going, I have a super dragon with some cavalry scouts in it. This just basically means I have double light ATGMs, even though they're not the best ATGMs out there. It gives me a little bit of extra reach for ATGMs and taking out transports especially. Other than that, I have a couple of Abrams going down the center, followed up with a few Bradleys and some 5-point trucks of death. I also have a command Abrams because I will be taking Foxtrot. It's going to be heavily armored. A heavily armored unit would be good in case they try to do spare artillery that comes down. Now over on the right, Game Changer is trying to go and push with his units, and I don't know how he's going to try to get to Charlie. He's got tracked units, so he's going to get there pretty late. At the start, you have a SU-27S trying to do some air superiority, trying to guard against this Yak, which is dropping some napalm onto the road. But the Avengers quickly shoot it down, and, well, that's a road that no one's going to be using, as the Humvees just go straight down the road, and the Avenger of Game Chamber is going off to the right. The SU-27S did shoot down the Cobra, so that was a bit anguishing. Avenger fires on the move its stingers, but unfortunately is going to be acquired by those rocket pods and taken out. But the amount of rocket pods used against that one Avenger, these Humvees are going to continue to pursue. So this is his push over here onto Charlie, but not a whole lot of units have made it so far. Fortunately, the ATGMs and the Mi-24A are pretty low, as my units are starting to get into range. Chaparrals are shooting down these helicopters, as well as these Abrams and MAG are shooting down the infantry that did try to land into the middle of the field. And thus I am now starting to organize. My Abrams is actually going to be trying to figure out what it wants to do. But I think I'm going to put it out here into a hotel where it can be, with its armor, it's just going to drive through napalm. And also assist in shooting anything if they come. Meanwhile, over here on the left-hand side, we have an Avia-28 coming in to drop all of these huge bomb over onto these assault engineers, as well as an Aardvark doing the same with its bombs. So unfortunately, we just saw a magic trick, and all of these Blue 4 units miraculously disappeared. So I decided I'm going to bring in my F-15D Eagle to help out, but this SU-27S went really far into our back line and actually shoots down my F-15D Eagle, my only bomber in this deck, at the start. That was a really unlucky loss. You're going to see in the future, this would have definitely paid off if I was able to keep it alive. So I just lost my one of my biggest planes, or few planes in this deck. Humvee of Game Chamber is going to be going down really far deep to try to take it. This is also Conquest as well, so the enemy does have a bit of an advantage at the moment, until I can get more CVs to come forward. It looks like some rocket pod South Korean trucks are going to be dropping onto this town and try to inflict further damage, as these Bratska Pez are going to be going up against the Heavy 90s and US Marines. Some Charioteers are providing some decent support, and these are actually pretty decent light vehicle-ish tank. We have a TO-55 trying to come down, but the Kiyomaru Shiki and the Nanayon Shiki G says no to that. Two T-72S's are coming forward, and the Carl Gustavs are not going to be very effective against the front armor. But now that they're going past, they managed to kill it before it is able to recover. Hawk Pip is going into reverse, and these guys are going to have a little bit of a trouble going forward. Kiyomaru Shiki is going to come over to the left, and the reason why I'm focusing on them is that I'm not really doing a whole lot. I did move up my Bradley to try to help out with its autocannon. Is starting to acquire, takes out a recon unit right there, and is now going to be focusing on these charioteers, firing its TOW 2 missile. Does take out one of the charioteers. Second TOW is fired, and at this close range, guaranteed a hit. One of the T-72Ss did go down, but it's going toe-to-toe against the Kiyomaru Shiki. And the Kiyomaru Shiki does get the kill. So this is starting to help out. I turned on the autocannon again. It's going to start shooting at the infantry that are out into the open. I do get some infantry here into this forest line as the cavalry scouts are going to be trying to move up with their Dragon 2s. They see the BTR-90 fire, and they do hit the BTR-90, but only takes out 6 points of health. So yeah, they're not that great, the cavalry scouts. Anyway, they move my riflemen up, they fire their law, miss with the law, and promptly get destroyed by the autocannon and the frag grenades as well. My chaparral moves up. She's going to be focusing on an MI-ATV. My HC got sideshot by the T-62. It's still alive, but has to limp back, as my chaparral does take out the 2 helicopters and now has to try to get out of range of the tank, while my Super Dragon is trying to get forward to cover it. Chaparral is being acquired by the BTR-90s and is going to be making another exit stage left to try to escape, but unfortunately isn't able to outrun the BTR-90s. I'm now starting to move my troops over to the right a bit more. Super Dragon does fire and misses with its Super Dragon missile. M8AGS does take out that tank, as my Super Dragon does manage to hit with his Super Dragon missile, but again still fails to kill the BTR-90s. Meanwhile, we'll be bringing us some M1s, as it seems like this has stabilized a bit. They do have quite a bit of infantry into the center of the town, as these US Marines are going to be trying to hold off the enemy forces. Good bombing strike right there. Probably got a good amount of infantry, as artillery is going to where the Kiyomaru Shiki was. That's going to need to be repaired. In the meanwhile, I am a little bit thin on tanks at the moment. All I have is an HC, which is down to 1 health. I have an M55A1, which is basically a recon tank. This would be to keep an eye out to make sure the enemy doesn't push forward. But I'm going to be trying to hold on to Foxtrot, as my second command, Abrams, has taken over, giving us a +1 point lead. So the Bradka Pez are going to overwhelm the US Marines with the sheer amount of firepower, though it looks like only one is engaging them at the moment. My TTS does misses with its ATGM missile, which is a little less accurate than the TOW missile, but does have 1 extra AP power. US Marines are going to be now hammered by these Bradka Pez, which I think are the light rifles, which they have a recoilless rifle on them. But it looks like the US Marines with LBTP-7s have come forward, but one does get taken out. They don't see TT-7s, they have the Browning machine guns. They get the frag grenade version, which I think is kind of interesting. It does make them a little bit cheaper, but they don't have the frag grenade goodness of kill all the infantry. Looks like we have another rocket artillery strike from 100%. This one is still recharging. And this is just basically keeping them all cleared out to make sure that they don't retake the town. As long as they still have a Toho, basically a tow into the village, they can keep bringing in reinforcements and don't have to strike back. A Buratino strike does do quite a bit of damage. Fortunately, this Hempt is armored. And so is the Command Abrams, but the Command Abrams is kind of forced out away from the fire, as the Hempt is trying to also get its way out of the fire. But it's having difficulty finding the best path to do so, and instead it's going to drive through the fire with its highly combustible fuel. In the meanwhile, my riflemen are going to be overwhelmed by the Squizette. Rifleman 90 are trying to quickly reload with his AT-4, but the Squizette does get behind some napalm to prevent that. But fortunately, my regular rifleman does fire with his law and does take that out. Rifleman 90s try to engage but miss the Squazettes, and those get taken out as these riflemen are going to try to hold off as best they can. I have some M1 Abrams trying to move up. These are the first Abrams or the cheapest Abrams in the list. But an ATGM is coming forward, does miss, but I realize I'm not going to be able to hold this off with just the Abrams, so they are going to retreat back into a more defensive position, especially since one did take a little bit of damage. 5-point trucks of death are moving forward. They're going to try to fade out the ATGM as the Rifleman 90s are going to try to walk across. Artillery's coming in to where the Riflemen were, and it looks like there is another tank that is firing ATGM missiles. Trying to aim for the Humvee. Looks like it's a PT-85, as it looks like some artillery is trying to smoke off where this ATGM is. I'm trying to get through this where the enemy is right now, and my 5-point truck and stuff is revealed as some BDB-90 and Squazettes are moving forward. I have to try to recover from being panicked so they can give the Abrams some fuel, as my two M1 Abrams, my M1 Abrams are moving up to try to hit. One did hit the Squazette, but it didn't quite kill them, as my Stinger Cs accidentally revealed themselves by shooting a bit of rounds with their M16s. But fortunately, my M1 Abrams are providing some good cover fire support, as my Rifleman 90s are trying to engage with the M60s, as the BDB 90s do take out the 5-point truck of death, or get assisted by so. More and more smoke is coming in to provoke the ATGMs from coming. M1 Abrams is moving up, and I'm doing this deliberately. Or I was doing this deliberately, where they have the M1 Abrams has a little bit of advantage against infantry compared to other tanks. Delta Force is moving up, and this, as long as they keep moving, should be able to quickly take out the BDB-90, and they do, so Game Changer is going to be helping me out. He should stop and immediately engage these MTLBVs to take them out, and then take out the Monostrelki, as my Rifleman 90s are trying to come up to assist. And the Delta Force are being cut down quite quickly as they're stunned and dead. So if he stopped here, we might have been able to assist more often. My other M1 Abrams is coming up. It's going to be helping trying to kill these Monostroki. Moves out of the forest, so it has a more clear line of sight so that it can engage with its main gun and Browning machine gun. The M1 Abrams is fairly unique, is that it has two light machine guns, infantry-sized machine guns on top of it. It does have a Browning, which is a little bit better, but it also has M240. So at close range, with 15 front armor, it can take a few RPG shots and most likely stun up the enemy infantry with the machine guns. As you can see, I moved closer so that the M42D light machine gun does take out the does be able to fire more rounds into the BDB-90, but ATGM does come through this little gap in the trees. It does take out that M1 Abrams in the side shot. Humvees are also going to be coming up and trying to engage with their Browning machine gun, but a nice mortar strike is coming in. It's going to really set up my Rifleman 90s and actually take out one of the squads, blunting the attack and forcing my Cobra, which is going to come in to help, to try to figure out another solution to where it should be positioned, as it no longer has any line of sight with anything of interest. And it quickly gets taken out by an AA piece. Isn't that fantastic? In the meanwhile, Bob and 100%, they are not going to be giving up. They are continuing to move forward. Looks like 100% is going to be unloading some napalm infantry as soon as they get there. And they're up against Sappers Strumworthy, which are some very good napalm infantry, because they are the only napalm infantry that are shock trained when they have the regular napalm. So they are very, very efficient in applying that napalm and killing off enemy forces. These U.S. Marines are going to have to force to retreat as some light riflemen 90s try to step forward to take charge, but they are not going to be the best against these light riflemen, as more artillery is coming in, just laying waste to this town. Another Ferrotino strike is coming in, does panic my M1 Abrams that was coming forward. Doesn't quite actually damage it yet, but it does also panic up my other infantry that were coming forward to assist. Again, this ATGM is removing quite a bit of a nuisance as my M1 Abrams moved up to take out the tank that was firing upon them. Rifleman 90s are going to be moving forward to try to assist, as these Rifleman 90s are going to try to hold off against this Monostroki 90, given that Riflemen and Monostroki are basically about even in terms of stats against other infantry. and the Rifleman 90s have 3 men to the 1 man of the Bodostroki. I do expect this should be able to survive this fight. My reinforcements, however, not going to be as lucky as some T-64Bs, and BMPT is moving forward. Does take out my TTS, as my Abrams have to move back. Rifleman 90s are forced to try to make it to the tree line, but unfortunately do get cut down by the T-64Bs. But they do move forward, and they get hit by the Abrams, but the Abrams doesn't have the best armor penetrating power of its gun. So it's only taking pot shots to do damage to this T-64. However, its front armor is 15, and this only has 16 AP power, so it is starting to hold off against the rounds. Unfortunately, there's 2 tanks firing compared to 1. BMPT is firing at my 5-point truck to death, as my M1 Abrams is going to be forced into reverse, as I am just trying to hold off the enemy forces from moving forward, and MI-ATV is going to come forward with his rocket pods as well. M1A1 Abrams is also moving forward. This BMPT is taking quite a few rounds from the M1 Abrams. As you can see, the M1 Abrams is not so good against other vehicles, especially heavily armored vehicles. T-64B takes a bit of rounds as the M1A1 takes out one of the tanks. Another Cobra comes forward with his TOW missile. Does miss with that TOW missile, but and also gets shot down by the OSA as well. I do also am very conscious that there's a BDB that are in here. I have to hold them off from getting too close for my M1 Abrams. Actually, it's some GRU that are come forward. The PT-85 is also moved, so I'm moving the Abrams out so that it can engage the PT-85. Misses its first shot as the 5-point trucks and jets are trying to hold off the GRUs. My riflemen are trying to move across to help defend and keep my Abrams alive as it moves back to get a better line of sight against PT-85. Man Abrams is trying to reload, but they are a bit shaken, having difficulty putting it into the loader. Before firing, and missing again. Another missile coming forward, the Command Abrams. And misses it just overhead. As the Abrams quickly reloads, fires and hits it, and it still survives. So, Command Abrams, not the best. It's given that this only has 2 front armor. So, the Command Abrams is going to move up to make sure it can hit more accurately and definitely penetrate. Once that is taken out, it's going to quickly turn back into the forest. As my allies are continuing to push forward, looks like their constant artillery strikes have weakened up these Bratska Pez to be quite weakened. Looks like a napalm strike came in through the town, probably from the U.S. napalm bomber. As the U.S. forces and the Havyong 90s are starting to engage what is the forces that are positioned here. 2 M1 IP Abrams are going to be engaging these recon infantry, which are pretty decent recon infantry. SC-24M does take a shot by the KF-116C, which does take it out. My Abrams does get taken out by a cluster and artillery strike as they just unload a huge amount of ordnance into this forest until it stops resembling a forest. M1 Abrams is engaged against 2 T-64Bs, which has taken both damage. Right now they have to fire their Cobra missiles because they are out of range with their main gun, whereas my M1 A1 Abrams is in range with its main gun. As the other one moves forward to also assist and takes out one of the T-64Bs, M1 A1 Abrams quickly reloads, fire, and takes out. So no advancing for you. I have upgraded my Abrams to be able to penetrate armor. Better luck next time. Back over here into the forest, the Delta Force are moving forward to try to hold off the Bratska Pez, or trying to take out the Bratska Pez. More and more infantry are being flooded into the town to try to hold off the enemy forces as artillery is coming forward to help soften up this area before the Delta Force move forward. So this is actually some pretty decent tactics that my allies are using to try to take the town. As you can see, it's both sides. The red side is starting to lose a bit of momentum as the M1 IP Abrams are moved up to take out the transport vehicles. They're then also going to be used to engage the Bratska Pez as an Mi-24P is coming forward, but I already have a Chaparral which begins to open up and is already engaging at quite a long range. First missile hits, second missile misses, third missile misses, but unfortunately the Mi-24P does miss as the final missile of the Chaparral does hit, and now it's going to be reloading those missiles in due time. Delta Force is against these Bratska Pez, and they should be able to take them out with their special MP5s. Now over on the right, nothing's really has happened. Game Changer hasn't really done a whole lot. He's been helping me out mainly. As another Buratino strike happened and took out my hemp. The good news is, that was really the only thing I had in that forest. Maybe a rifleman squad, but that is just about it, as my M1A1 HC Abrams has come forward. This is the Marine variant, and it is packing a whole lot of armor and power. As you can see, it is pretty veteran, so it does hit the 64Bs on the first shot. M1A1 Abrams, which is elite, is also going to be engaging. Both tanks are taken out as the BMPT is not going to be able to do a whole lot against the Abrams. It fires some frag grenades. The M1, the HC Abrams said, "Oh, how cute," and just abruptly kills it. BTR 90s have revealed onto the right-hand side as the Abrams are going to quickly make short work of those. These Abrams are able to quickly line up shots and accurately deliver round after round to kill their targets. KF-16C came forward. Looks like it's going for the L-18, but it does successfully get out. Commandozi have come to reinforce against these Delta Force, which are trying to reman with this hemp, and which has run out of supply. More bombs come forward as another Phantom II is releasing its napalm bombs right onto the enemy infantry. An M1A1 Abrams decides napalm is a lovely place to drive through, as the Palo Franci are forced to move out, panic against the Delta Force and the Happy on 90, so the trap has been set and the enemy has been forced to cut their forces in half to be picked apart. M1A1 HA Abrams is moving over to the right-hand side as more artillery is landing to take out this town. So it seems as though I've really learned that the real way to take this town is to basically raise the town. Make sure there's nothing left before you can take it. CEV does get taken out by the Goblin Malyuka missiles as the Ranger is trying to force to retreat. And the Malyuka missiles are are fairly accurate and pretty powerful, so that is definitely an interesting unit to have, especially for Yugoslavia. And nothing really is happening onto the right-hand side. I am trying to regain my brick wall, I guess I should say, to hold off the enemy forces and be able to make my attack. With 100% is going to be doing a artillery strike. He's artering here, which I guess that means that there's where the artillery pieces were coming. The missiles are going to be coming. They're going to panic, but I don't think they really will kill any kind of artillery, but it may be that they see where the bomb is, and that could help as well. Meanwhile, my Super Dragon has revealed the PT-85 and is engaged with it. It takes one hit from the PT-85. The PT-85 is going to be quickly reloading. Cavalry Scouts are moving up to fire their Dragon. My Super Dragon is taken out as the Cavalry Scout does hit it with the first shot. It still has 3 health left. Cavalry Scouts are quickly trying to reload. They take a hit by the PT-85. Dragon is firing, engaging against the PT-85. The Dragon does miss, as the Dragon is not quite that accurate, and they are shaken. And I'm moving my Scouts back so that they can hide. They're down to 1 man left, and they need to stop being panicked so they can actually hit. Harrier 2 coming in with his Maverick missiles, going to be engaged, trying to fire against Buratino, but misses, and the Gamma 2 do shoot them down. But it seems that the enemy force has captured a FAP, and they are remanning their infantry squads as they're moving forward. Kiyomaro Shiki and K1A1 also moving up, as they seem to have successfully taken the town, and now they can begin pushing from here. The contest is over. Meanwhile, I'm moving towards some Bradley, M2A2 Bradleys with those TOW-2 missiles to help shore up the defense. Now, all my vehicles are being revealed, so there is definitely some recon somewhere around here. Looks like some cluster munition takes out my Chaparral, as my Bradley and Abrams is going to try to get out of that cluster range. Cluster lands right where that Bradley was, so it does manage to escape the cluster munitions. As the riflemen are going to be moving forward, they may be panicked and shaken and all that, but they are going to be trying to find where the enemy positions are, as I'm going to be making another push. In the meanwhile, another Buratino strike is going to be hitting this town. I do feel sorry for any residents who lives in this town, because this town is probably not going to be here anymore. So they probably should have gotten their wartime insurance for their property. Meanwhile, F-16C, they're going to try to engage and shoot down the Sierra 30. Sierra 30 does take out the short arrow, as the blocks are going to be evac, so they could have probably gone for the seed plane, but a couple of KF-116Cs do take that out. Riflemen are engaging as the M1A1 Abrams has also moved up to engage with its Bradley machine gun. Bradleys are backing up with their autocannons, and I am making another push. Meanwhile, another Buratino strike is coming over against my M1 Abrams, which should be fine against that. M1A2 is also doing damage, and I'm deliberately keeping my vehicles as far away from the town as possible to be out of that 18GM range. Bradley's going to keep opening up against those VDV-90s as the riflemen are going to make their way forward, but into a bit of mortar fire. Grooves have been revealed as the M1 Abrams did get shot at by something into the tree line right here. Chaparral's going to be engaging the MI-ATV, but it is panicked, so those missiles are missing by quite a large margin, as the Chaparral is going to be moving back to basically recover. T-62M is what shot at my Abrams, but I quickly turned so that the front armor is engaging it, but the T-62M can only engage with its ATGM missile because the main gun isn't enough to take the damage. The M1 Abrams is going to start getting some cluster, but so far the cluster seems to be largely missing. And it's doing pretty well. The M1A1 is going up against the T-62MV. M1 Abrams quickly reloads, fires, and takes out that tank. And most of its shells has been expended. It's going to need to reload that shortly. M1A1HC did seem to take a hit by the cluster munitions, as my M1A2 is going to come up and take its stead. Still pushing up the M1HC Abrams. I probably should have taken this and pushed it back so that it could reload its, repair itself. M1 ATV is going to be expending the last of its ordnance as my Chaparral has finally calmed down. Is going to engage with its missile. Misses again with the first one. Another missile is firing. Does take that out. My Abrams are moving forward to try to take out these Monostroki, as the Bradley is also going to be engaging with its Bushmasher as well. Riflemen are going to move forward to make sure that the Monostroki do not sneak up too close to these Abrams, as I'm going to be bringing up a Super Chinook to try to repair this regular Abrams as well. Monostroki have revealed themselves as the M1A1 Abrams stabilizer is malfunctioned, but I'm going to be moving the Abrams back. Again, these both have double the machine gun, so they are going to be engaging, trying to stun up these Monostroki as well as in addition to their main gun, as the Abrams are in retreat. The M1A1 is going to stay here to try to hold off the enemy from pushing forward. ATGM is targeting my Abrams, and they are indeed going to be retreating to make sure they are out of range of those ATGMs. As I'm just trying to get the enemy out of the Foxtrot so I can completely secure it. Looks like the enemy is going to be pushing forward with some special forces onto the right-hand side, so even though they have the town, they're not quite able to make the push just yet. Still, nothing's going on onto the right-hand side. I am smoking off the town to make sure that my Abrams are mostly safe, but an Mi-24P does take out my damaged HC Abrams. Chaparral is going to stop and try to shoot at the Mi-24P. It may be worried, but does successfully take that out. Riflemen 90s are going to take quite a bit of damage. In the meanwhile, some more cluster munitions is going to be hitting where the Chaparral and the M2A2 Abrams is. My Super Chinook just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time and does get hit by a cluster munition and promptly, don't you dare, almost lands on my M1A1 Abrams. That would have been so bad. My M1A2 is damaged, is going to go back for a repair, as the Humvees and the light riflemen of my allies on the left-hand side are going to be pushing forward. ITO 90s are going to receive the wrong end of artillery as the Super Gleep does come forward and hits the M1AP but doesn't quite take it out. Raven is going to be engaged by the L19 and the L18 and gets away. Thank you, IECF. Some more rocket artillery from the Koryungs are going to be coming forward and basically pestering this forest, because why should we want to destroy just a village when we can destroy a village and a forest, right? Rensu 106 millimeters is going to be good, kind of standard second line of defense. I do kind of like these Ricota's rifles. As in addition, the light riflemen are going to be trying to engage at close range with their Super Dragons. Abrams going to be coming in and dropping its bombs over the target area. And again, cause quite a bit of damage. So, a cluster munition strike takes out one of my mortars. My other one is badly damaged, but is still able to limp along. And it seems that my push over here into the center has failed. They have cleaned up the last of my forces, and I am heavily damaged and almost out of munitions. My M1A1 has retreated. My M1A2 has retreated. Chaparral has found a nice juicy target of a KA-52, fires its targets, and gets hardened with the quick kill of that delicious seaplane. As another, a couple of Super Chinooks are coming forward with supplies to help repair the Bradleys and the Abrams, and these helicopters are bigger than I remember. More artillery's coming in. Looks like it's going over where the Kusongs were firing. Good thing he didn't fire it directly onto this crossroads, because that would have been kind of bad. Game Changer, meanwhile, seemed to have given up on me, and he's going to be reinforcing this left-hand side with some 5-point trucks as well. Napalm once again forces my Abrams out of this forest area, and instead it's going to have to take over this area instead. Super Chinooks are quickly repairing and rearming my mortar, and all of these are still a little too panicked to be able to be reloading themselves. Chaparral, however, will reload in its missiles. And the Mi-24P again moves up a little too close. The Chaparral does have 3,325 meter range, one of the longest infrared AA range in the game, so yeah, don't try to move any helicopters against the Chaparral. It won't help out very much. KAF V90 does get taken out by an ATTM, as it looks like another push to take this forest to begin further pushing down into the center here. Bradleys are going to be making an effort stand, but against Stone Song 2, the light riflemen, it looks like they're probably going to succeed in holding this off. Bradleys, of course, being the special forces, and light riflemen just being kind of just regular dull infantry. The Frog, which is just barely hovering, is going to be engaging with its minigun. That would actually do quite a bit of damage against the Bradleys, as the Bradleys don't shoot down the Frog to begin with. But we're going to trade it for a minigun, for a Vulcan gun, and take out those Bradleys, as well as just, well, you know, cooking the whole forest alive, because we didn't want that forest anyway. A couple of Gamma 2s are going to try to sneak, but they only have 4 HE power, so the moment one missile hits, they are just going to be quickly taken out. One missile does hit the DAP, so the DAP is damaged, but that's the only thing that we have to be worried about. I am again going to be smoking off this forest area because I'm going to be making a push. I have 4 regular M1 Abrams tanks we're going to be moving forward, and this would have been a good push. Going to have to drop my infantry off at the last second because the ATGM is still has a gap into the smoke. But my M1 Abrams with their double machine guns, I expected them to be able to make quick work of the VDB-90, as you can see, especially backed up by the 5-point trucks. If the riflemen were in front, that would have been definitely better. But the problem with this push is, well, first off, the gap is still there, so that does take out one of my M1 Abrams. But also, I haven't played this game in a while, and well, while I said that these can go up against most infantry and be able to survive, unfortunately, the Monostrokey 90s, they've got 24 AP power. They're going to rip apart the front armor of my M1 Abrams and take them out really quickly. If these were just regular Monostrokey, this would have been definitely a worthwhile attack, and it quickly gets cut to shreds. And if I had my F-15D Eagle, that would have been a perfect spot to just drop the 4 1,000-kilogram bombs, and that would have kept my Abrams alive and keep the push moving. Artillery is also coming in on my riflemen, and my riflemen are not going to be able to continue the push forward. So again, my attack efforts have stalled into the center. So instead, we focus again onto the left-hand side, as the 5-point truck Game Changer are moving up, especially backed up by 6 M1 IP-8 Abrams from Game Changer. Riflemen are also going to be moving up to assist. So it looks like the main push is beginning over here onto the left-hand side. My Chinook is repairing all of these Abrams. So a good thing is all those Abrams spare parts, as these guys are going to be my emergency line of defense should the enemies try to push on top of that. I bring forward the Phantom 2 because I knew that there was a lot of stuff there. CV does move. Yep, CV is going to be moving now. That is coded in napalm, and the Command Abrams does take it over. SU-24M does take out my Chaparral, but my Chaparral manages to kill it before it escapes. As an Mi-24A, that's an interesting one, I don't see too often, comes forward and is going to shoot the Nanyon Cheeky G, but misses with its ATGM missile. More rocket artillery is coming in. Looks like more South Korean rocket artillery is going to be trying to soften up whatever is still alive into this cooked napalm area. U.S. Marines are also going to be engaging these proletary as they're backed up by the M1HC Abrams, and it seems like my allies are finally breaking through onto the left-hand side. Meanwhile, I am just going to be holding off on this area at the moment, and I am bringing forward, of course, more reinforcements for this center. The Orlo 2 is going to be coming forward with its rocket pods and its anti-tank missiles. Does get shot at by the Patriot. Patriot fires again. Will it be able to take out the Orlo 2? Yes, it does. Right on target. Good job, Patriot. And meanwhile, another cluster munition is going to be coming up against my Super Chinook. Does hit it and takes it out, but my Abrams are able, fully prepared and armed. The Chinook did its job, as the Abrams are prepared to defend this area. Make sure that they don't expand their reach through Foxtrot. The fact that I'm holding this center line does mean that my allies do have more of a shot to pushing forward, as they are. Seems to be breaching through the enemy's positions. The special forces of the South Koreans are going to be moving up, as the Prattlebrats are going to be engaging against the Delta Force and the M1 IP Abrams. Looks like there's a couple of tanks here that shot at the enemy forces. 5.6 jets from Game Changer are going to move up and are going to pester these helicopters, basically revealing where they are so that the chaparrals do take them out. M1 IP Abrams is going to be going up against the Charioteer, which is not really a fair fight. Some commandos, they are quickly unloaded. That could present a little bit of an issue for the M1 IP Abrams. Gamma 2s are moving up with their Malyuka missiles. Those should be able to take out any kind of tanks. The Yak-38 is dropping some napalm, but the chaparrals do take it out, as the napalm does miss by a mile. Rifleman 90s are going to be engaging, as the Cobra is going to take out the infantry, allowing the M1 IP Abrams to focus their fire against the Charioteers, as the enemy's forces are being destroyed one by one piecemeal. Charioteer is good support unit, not good kill everything unit. I decided to assist my allies with the F-15C Eagle, going to be shooting at the Super Galib. It's out of... It does get taken out, but does force the Super Galib away, so it doesn't take out the M1 IP Abrams. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to take out a plane as well. Enemy started to move up, but the M1A1 Abrams quickly responds to take out enemy forces. Does quickly acquire and take out the T-64B. M1A2 Abrams does move forward, as the Bradley is going to engage with its Bushmaster as well. BMPT is going to be firing some frag grenades into our general area. Looks like the BMPT does get taken out, as my Abrams are on the defensive line ready to hold. Super Dragon's moving up, is going to be trying to spot for my enemy forces, just in time for a Buratino to come and wipe out the Super Cavalry that just unloaded. And the Super Dragon also dies, and well, the good news is they Buratino'd me, and not this delicious, juicy target. In the meanwhile, since I'm pretty much holding this area just fine, I sent an M1 Abrams to help assist my ally because I thought they were going to continuously bring in tanks. His Abrams are mostly out of fuel, damaged, unwilling to move forward. SU-27S is going to be trying to go for our Prowler, but he goes right over the Chaparral and my Ihawk Pip. Prowler does get taken out, but so does the SU-27S, as my M1 Abrams is starting to make its way down the road. Super Galibs are moving forward to come for the M1 IP Abrams of Game Chamber. Those quickly take it out. One Galib is shot down by the Patriot. The other does get away. My M1 Abrams is going to shoot the Charioteers, and the Charioteers don't have any stabilizers, so they can't actually shoot unless they stop. Backed up by the HC Abrams and the IP Abrams, the M1 Abrams does take them out, as he's just going to go around their wrecks and continue forward. He's going to be our eyes to see what goes on, as the enemy forces is coming down to this road with a whole lot of tanks. Chumats, not going to be able to really hold that off. The HC Abrams is going to have to be forced back. Orlo 2 is moving forward, as my HC Abrams does shoot it down before it can kill the Abrams, the F-15C Eagle. Phantom 2's coming forward with its napalm. I'm going to try to slow down the enemy forces as the Aardvark kind of misses with its bombs as well. All these tanks are doing quite a bit of damage. Harrier 2 tries to engage his ATGM missiles as well, as everyone is just basically trying to shoot at these tanks into the center. In the meanwhile, my M1 Abrams is having a jolly grand old time, just rushing down. Unfortunately, it is starting to get low on fuel. He has 500 units of fuel left, and MI2 is spotting the M1 Abrams, which decides it's going to start now cutting around the backside where the enemy forces are. More planes are coming in. Anti-radar Super Galib is coming forward. Looks like 100% is moving forward with his South Korean units over to the right-hand side. Whereas I have apparently lost my M1A2 Abrams. F-15C helps shoot down some other planes. As this one moves forward, it's going to shoot at the Mi-24. Does miss. M1 Abrams is going to be engaging the BMPTs. Now, the BMPTs don't really have any kind of AP whatsoever, so the M1A1 Abrams is going to be able to have the advantage. The problem is it's going to have to expand a little bit more ordnance in order to take that out. Cobras are going to come from Game Chambers moving up to assist my M1 Abrams to try to take out these BMPTs. All those tanks were taken out successfully as the M1A2 from Bob is Good is going to be engaging against these light rifles. MiG-25BM is looking for my IHawk Pip, which is successfully out of missiles, so it cannot target it. AH-1Js are going to move forward and quickly take out those light riflemen. As looks like a combination of AA is going to be shooting at the MiG-25BM, which is still alive miraculously. Gongbyongs are going to be pushing forward. My M1 Abrams is taking quite a bit of rocket pod damage from its Mi-4As. It's leaking fuel. Trax is hit. It's dead. But I did elicit quite a sharp response from my enemy. F-15C Eagle fires and takes out the Mi-2. Turns around, gets shot at by, it looks like an infrared. Another missile fires but misses the Mi-4A. Airplanes are moving up, does hit the HT-40 as it quickly turns and tries to engage the MiG-29. Shoots it down with the Vulcan gun as it's now out of missiles, but it is a little too deep into enemy territory. I want to try to see if I can get the Galib, so the F-15C is going after the Galib, I believe. Yep, does shoot down the Galib with its Vulcan gun again as it's trying to turn to its sharp radius with the MiG-29. Gets behind the MiG-29, the shoots at it a little bit with its Vulcan gun. Does stun up the MiG-29 as my F-15C is engaged into a real dogfight, trying to shoot it down like old World War II tactics before the enemy decides to just bring in a couple of Su-27Ss and shoot it down with missiles. Avengers against KA-52. Miraculously, the Avengers win because they're infrared. Who would have thought about that? MiG-25BM is moving forward. Looks like it's looking for Patriots or other sea planes, but with some Avengers and Chaparrals and a Vulcan gun, which is not radar AA. The MiG-25 gets panicked quite hard. Avengers moving up, quickly shoot at and take out the Mi-24. As my A2 Bradley is moving up. I think it's trying to move it forward to see if it can get these Nonas as well. F-15C Eagle is moving up. It's going to be engaging against our allied forces. I'm trying to bait them to come forward into our AA. And I do successfully get the Su-27S into our AA net. One's taken out. IHawk Pip fires at the other one. Does miss, so unfortunately that is 1-for-1 in terms of trades. The enemy does have quite a bit of aircraft. Bradleys get taken out by the Nona. So unfortunately that Bradley was not successful in taking it out. MiG-27S does get hit by my IHawk Pip. Aardvark is coming in. Looks like it's going for those Nonas as well. Su-24S does again come really close as my last F-15C fires a couple of its missiles and misses. Against that Su-27S. Again, F-15C Eagle is going for another plane. These are rookies, so they don't do quite a bit, but does take out another one of the MiG-29s, which is what I was trying to do, is just send out a number of the planes that are there. And as I see that there's a hella rush coming forward by 100% over and to the left, I have my M2 Abrams and my M1A1 Abrams. Maybe these are the same guys. Not sure, or I probably just brought in some more. They're finally made it to the front lines, and they're going to be moving forward down the road. And they're going to be making the spearhead thrust because we've captured this area. There's no reason to wait any longer. Looks like Bob's good. Does see that my Abrams are moving up, and so he's going to decide to back them up with his. As my Abrams are moving forward, the SC-27Ss are going to be circling around overhead. As the Abrams are going to be coming forward, I see that there's some more stuff over here. So, instantly, I think I'm going to have my M1 Abrams divert. Yep, divert to engage these OSAs over here onto the left-hand side. M1A2 going to come over to this cliff side here and thus begin shooting at anything that is not bolted down. It looks like it's found the artillery. M1A2 does take out the artillery there as the M1A1 is moving up to engage these OSAs to basically clear out to allow these helicopters to move forward. Super Gleam does take out my M1A2, does miss against the other M1A1, but Bob is good is coming up with more Abrams to hold off the enemy forces. Another pack of OSAs are there, so my Abrams continues to move forward to try to take them out. One immediately goes out as the push continues. Helicopters are circling around, getting ready to push in as my M1A1 clears out the air defenses. Uragans are accidentally moving to the fob as we capture this fob right here. Avengers are going to quickly rearm and reload. It's amazing how Soviet ordnance can quickly be converted into Stingers. M1A1 is again engaging the BMPT as we are definitely winning the conquest points as we are basically in their base, causing all sorts of problems and mischief. As now that the AA is cleared, here comes the helicopter push from 100%. ATGMs are going to be flying. M1A, the MI-24P does get taken out by the ninjas. As another MI-24P does come up, ninjas are going to be opening fire to try to take them out. My M1A1 Abrams does hide in the forest so that the ATGM does not shoot it, and Super Khalif is coming up. Ninjas are out of ammo for that. Super Khalif does get too close for the Avengers. The Avengers quickly fire and do take it out with their Stinger missiles. As our blitz push forward is commencing, 100%, Bob is good at taking full advantage of the opening that I have cleared them to basically wipe out the enemy forces. The 62 MV1s are trying to retreat back to try to help out the enemy forces, but come into a wall of M1A1, and 60-point tanks don't do well against 140-point tanks either. A lot of stuff is getting taken out. Another OSA is coming forward as the M1 Abrams are engaging that. Phantom 2 is dropping some napalm at their launch points, but it looks like they do have another AA to hold them off. But we do win in the conquest points. A total victory is achieved, and despite my constant loss of lack of pushing in the center constantly, being able to hold off the enemy forces, I do squeak out a positive in this game. So that is definitely pretty good. As you can see, my chaparral definitely did work in shooting down a number of stuff. M1A1 Abrams, definitely. I think, yeah, this one is the same M1A1 Abrams that stayed around for the whole game. This one's definitely did quite a bit of damage, killed a number of tanks, and especially all those OSAs at the end, providing the ample opportunity open. M1A2 also coming forward to help it out. As my M1 Abrams, even though they did die in a glorious fireball, they did actually get quite a few kills. T62M is dead, some VDV-90s, Charioteers, BMPT. So they did succeed. My F-15C Eagle did take out quite a number of planes and helicopters, as my High Hawk Pip took out a vast majority of their Air Force. So that is what, that was a U.S. Armored deck. I do hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any decks you want me to make into the future, please let me know down in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video of Wargame.